Hello, everybody, and welcome to True Crime Banter, the podcast aimed at bringing you your dose of murder relaxation. So, just sit back and enjoy.
Why am I here?
He is on
It's okay.
a level that he's not used to being on. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to another episode of the True Crime Banter podcast.
Yes.
We've got all the animals here with us today.
Mm-hmm. Sure,
Hopefully,
they'll be making an appearance at some point.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
Unwanted appearance.
And today, speaking of appearances,
What were we just talking about?
what just happened over there? I'm sure you could all hear that. That was
Oh, we're still gonna go. Okay.
why. Oh, we're rolling
Okay.
with it.
Here we go.
Speaking of appearances, we're going to be talking about disappearances today.
Very
A
good
few of
wordplay
them.
there.
Thank you. But before we do, we've got you had some banter for us. Banter and shoutouts.
Yeah.
We got a number of shoutouts, but you had some weird banter that you wanted to talk about?
That was a really subtle flex there. A number of shout-outs. It was so many.
Listen. If it's a one shoutout,
That's true.
one's a number.
Don't get super excited about it, but what was it again? Oh,
I
the
don't know,
banter.
you had banter question.
Yeah,
A question.
This is going to be kind of dumb, but I was thinking about this and where this came from. I will not mention names, but it sparked something where
Michael
I was
Scott.
like, no, it sparked something where I was like, I wonder if there's like two camps. Like there are some things in life that you will have
Like
people-
toilet paper over or under.
Exactly, one
Okay,
of those
all right.
kinds of
Okay,
things.
all right. Let me take a sip while I get prepared for this.
It's so stupid, but I just thought of it and I was like, let's just add it in. But some of these small things sometimes will spark the biggest debate, so who knows? But the question is, for your dishwasher, are you the type of person, and I already know this for you, but I want to know it from the peeps.
Okay.
And I know this
First off.
about you because we live together, but what?
Correct.
What?
No. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay. Are you the type of person, audience, who just puts your dish in the fucking dishwasher, or do you rinse it and scrub off some of the bits?
And
It doesn't have
pre-wash
to
it
be
before putting it
perfectly
into the
clean,
dishwasher?
but there are people that I know that
And
just
engaged to
will will just put full on plates of just like
dirty, like caked
they'll
on.
eat like a whole plate of spaghetti or
Okay.
something, mac and cheese, and they'll just take it straight from the table to the dishwasher.
So
Even with bits of food on it.
here's the thing. I think it kind of depends on your dishwasher. If you have like grade A top-notch dishwasher material, I can understand. Like, because some dishwashers are like that fucking good, where you can just. Now, granted, I don't think it's always good to like soak things, and like pre-wash it.
Even I feel like just a good solid rinse with the stream of water from the sink.
Yeah, just get off the chunks.
Yeah.
So I have okay, wait. You
That's
know what camp I'm on.
Yeah.
I pretty much like wash my dishes before.
Basically, right?
putting
And
them
then
in
I've
the
also met
dishwasher.
people who are like, well, then why have a dishwasher? Just
Right.
clean it and put it in the dry rack.
So here's the thing I was going to bring up before we brought up the question. And this has to do with our shout-outs because one of our shout-outs takes place as you just lost an earring onto your lap. Crazy.
Perfect. The show
crazy.
must
This
go
is
on.
a wild episode of True Crime Banter.
I'll find it later.
So, on Spotify, you can. I mentioned it in the last episode, and we actually had someone who followed through with it. We're gonna leave a question, and you guys can actually answer the question on Spotify, or if you want to just like send us a message on Instagram or something, feel free to answer it. But I'm gonna leave the question about what are your thoughts on dishwashers.
Maybe I'll include it in the episode, like at
Oh,
the very
okay.
bottom, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
description, like
On
what did you
Instagram.
guys think about this or whatever on our post.
But to follow up with that, so the thing about Spotify where you answer the question, I can actually pin it to that episode.
Oh, cool.
So
okay.
everybody can see your answer. So
Okay.
if I like it,
Right.
I'm gonna pin it.
If I like it.
If I don't like it, only I will see it,
Aim
and I'll
to
know.
please
I'll know.
everyone.
But to follow up your dishwasher question, when you put your cutlery or your forks and knives, silverware,
Yeah,
I guess, in the like silverware holder, do you separate it all and put all the forks in?
No.
Okay, all right.
Have you been doing that?
What?
Have you been doing that?
So we're gonna go over shoutouts next.
Okay, good to know.
I'm
not
saves
surprised
time
at
putting it
all.
all away. That's the thing. If you put all the knives into one little section, you can just pull
Let's
it out.
move
Anyways,
on. Let's move on.
So yes, I'm gonna leave.
This
a
is now
question
turned
now.
into a mental health chat.
So this is an intervention.
Mental
for
health has
myself.
left the chat. Okay.
Okay, so I am going to leave a question on, at least on Spotify, you can answer this, about what your thoughts are on the dishwashing procedures. Second, if you don't listen on Spotify, if you listen on something else, message us, and maybe we'll read the answers
Maybe we
on
will.
the next episode.
Yeah.
But on this episode, we're gonna go over some shoutouts.
Let's
now.
do it.
So I've got a number of shoutouts.
Go ahead. Let's
to
get
be
started.
exact, I've got, I think, 3 or 4.
Okay.
The first one comes from Major Alan Espy on YouTube.
Okay.
And he commented on our Terry Missy Beavers episode, which is episode
Okay.
31, a very controversial
That's-
one
yeah.
because there's still no answers for that case. So go
And
back,
it's
listen.
so bizarre.
Yes.
Yeah.
And basically, Major Alan Espy is here. I'll read. He commented a few times. I'll read the
okay.
first one though, and he said the idea he could have hoped to stumble upon a homeless person inside of a church is silly. If he had the vigilante mindset and wanted to harm homeless, he could have done like the guy in California and wandered around parks and alleyways to do that. Again, though,
He's referring to my dad's comment,
yes,
right?
yes, exactly. I wasn't sure if you would
Hey,
remember this.
my dad is very silly, okay?
Well, he said again, though, cameras everywhere, knew he was visible. So the idea that he could be a wannabe cop staging break-ins also doesn't hold up. Don't follow that.
Right.
So
Okay.
he's calling your dad silly.
Well, yes, I would
He also
agree.
left another comment. It's a little bit longer, so I'm not going to go over it. But I thank you, Major Alan
Yeah.
Espy, for commenting. I
Yeah.
think I'm kind of on board. Like, he probably wasn't
Right.
trying to stage a break-in
Yeah.
or be a vigilante
Yeah.
in any way.
I
In
think,
fact, I thought maybe even I like brought that up, like a
Right.
could be possible reason.
Yeah.
So.
I think a lot of people probably agree with like it's either random or somebody she knew or something. I don't think it's anything too, even though it's bizarre.
Out
it's
of there. Or out
probably
of
not too
yeah.
crazy. But it's nice to know that, or it's nice when people comment and share that kind of stuff just for
Yeah.
some kind of interaction, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. Next, I have a comment on the Yuba County 5 episode.
Okay.
Episode 39.
Yes.
Just a few episodes ago.
Yep.
This is Eva Karina Garbepo.
Okay.
She also left a few comments.
Okay.
She says, someone should really get to the bottom with this story and talk to every relative and friends, everyone who knew these guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's so strange. And then her second comment, also this with the baby clothes in the car and the man with heart failure
Mm-hmm.
who said he had seen a woman with a baby.
Right.
Several things are strange in this case.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't know, some people died
Mm-hmm.
and no one's really sure how, or because it was a group of people.
Right.
Who ended
But they
up-
were all separated at one point.
Yes.
The baby clothes thing, I don't want to get too far into it if people haven't listened to that episode, but I saw that comment as well.
Okay.
And there are some details, I mentioned this to you before, where there are some details with that one, that specific case that are very small and they're mentioned, but they're not mentioned everywhere.
Right.
And
right.
that's one of them where I think I saw that on 1 or 2 websites out
Baby
of a
clothes
lot of them.
in the car.
Yeah. So that case was in the 70s.
Yeah,
And it's
the
so
information is
hard to
kind of
know
hit or
what's
miss.
real. If somebody just heard that somewhere and then wrote an article, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if there's baby clothes found in someone's fucking car, that is weird, especially
Yeah.
because they were spotted with a baby at one point. But
Yeah, and you've got a couple shout outs on your end as well from Instagram.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
And one of them mentioned this case I noticed a comment on Instagram about how it kind of reminded her of another case.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned. Are you going to talk about it? Or do you want me to?
No. But
I had a funny conversation.
the thing is, though, yeah, that's the thing about that Yuba County 5 case is that there's a lot of questions for what feels like it could be very straightforward.
Yeah.
So,
and that's something we mentioned is that this could be very simple or it could be fucking weird.
My next shout out is a very close listener of ours.
Okay.
To you, at least, I believe.
Okay.
And this was on the last episode, Maria Nemeth, episode 40, Emily Newman.
Yeah. Emily
and
Newman.
She says,
she's an old friend of mine.
Amazing people and amazing stories and insight. So, Emily, thank you. And
she's a doll.
Yeah, I've heard good things about you.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Thank you for the comment. And then the last shout out that I have. Actually, no, I've got two more.
Okay.
Next one. Philip Smith. What's going on?
What up, Philly?
I don't know you, Philip, but you also commented on the Yuba County 5 episode.
Okay.
And he just simply stated, well done.
Oh,
so
I'll take it.
Well done.
Thank you, Philly Smith.
Free.
Wow. Yeah. Shout out.
Well done. I did leave a question, though, saying, how do you like your steak? So I don't know if that's what he was answering. But
probably is. You should have mentioned that before.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you
I'm
didn't?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my life.
It's definitely not me then. Oh my God, that's so funny.
And then last, I alluded to it with the Spotify questions. So if you guys listen to the podcast on Spotify, there is I guess when you click into the episode, you can actually answer the question that we leave. Mm-hmm. Typically, the question is very generic. What did you think about this episode?
Yeah.
Like I said on this episode, I'm going to say, what are your thoughts on the dishwasher procedures? But Amanda, on the last episode, Maria Nemeth, also episode 40, she did answer, what did you think about this episode? And you said Amanda comments on our Instagram all the time. So
yeah,
shout out
she's
to you,
messages
Amanda.
mainly, but I've talked to her quite a few times, Yeah,
so shout out to you, Amanda. She said, it's definitely going to take a while for this one to get out of my head, but I do love the interrogation videos. Mm-hmm. So that is in regards to the last episode that I covered, which is one that is a little different.
One for the books.
Yes, one that will...
I actually had a friend today. I went to go get coffee from her, and shout out Devin. And shout out Devin, shout out coffee. Yeah. And I was almost to the coffee stand, and she texted me, she goes, oh my God, I'm listening to the latest one. And she said, this one's crazy. Thinking she had already gotten to the bad part, and then 2 seconds later, I get another text saying, oh my God, I should have listened to the warning.
Yes.
So if you're thinking about going back and listening, this is like our 10th warning now for that episode.
So but yeah, Amanda, thank you for answering the question. And the cool thing about Spotify, I don't know if I've said it during the episode yet. Yeah. But when Amanda answered that question, I can pin it to that episode. Oh, okay. So anybody who clicks into that episode and chooses to answer the question themselves, they can see your answer if I choose to pin it or not.
So now if you didn't know that it was public, now we know.
Yeah. And so thank you, Amanda. I actually did not know that until she answered that. So thank you again.
Yes. Thank you.
And so you've got a few shout outs.
Yeah, I just have 2 actually. Well, okay, let me go back to, I'll keep it brief because I didn't know you were going to bring up the comment from the Yuba County one.
Okay.
But you mentioned
Mr. Candles or something like that.
Yeah, so it's, is it Henry? Now that I'm forgetting.
You know what? You continue. I'll figure it out.
It's the guy from Into the Wild is what it is. So did you ever watch the movie?
So, no.
Or the book? Did you read the book? I never saw either.
No.
Or read
it. And so when she left this, I think she messaged. No, she left a comment.
Whatever.
She left a comment. Christopher McCandles, I think.
Yeah.
I'm double checking it. But she left a comment, and I actually looked it up because I was like,
so I did too, but I did like a deep dive, right?
Okay. All right.
So she left it on the Yuba County one, right? So I'm thinking that, and her and I have already messaged Christopher. Her and I've already messaged about this, and it ended up being like, because she's like an old high school friend or whatever, so it's like this very casual, whatever. Shout out Bree, right? OG listener, follower. Thank you. Thanks, girl. And I was like, oh, she commented that this reminded her of that. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be weird. It's going to be mysterious. Yeah. And I looked up and I was like, oh, That's that book that was like really big at one point.
I remember in like 4th grade, I think.
And then they made a
us.
movie, and I remember being like really big, and I remember like some guy in a bus, right, or something, right? Mm-hmm. Then I looked it up, and it's quite like controversial because this happened. This guy died in 92, and he was like this guy that just wanted to live off the grid. And this is going to be, people are going to be listening, be like, yeah, I already fucking know what it is.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. So I'm reading like, oh, that's what this whole thing is. And he wanted to disappear, and it came out later that people thought he had mental health issues. And then essentially he died from poisoning / starvation. There was a question mark around it for a little bit.
Right.
This bus that he was living in for quite some time, I guess, was like a sanctuary-ish for people that were like hunters in the area or people that just needed shelter for a night. It wasn't like a home. It was a place that people could stay. Exactly. Spot. And I guess he ended up making it his home for a period of time, like months, I guess. And there was a note found on the bus door that was like, my name is Christopher, whatever, McKenna, you know, and I am somewhere nearby. I'm out picking berries. I am not doing well. Please don't leave me. I am going to die out here. Please come find me. Don't wander far. Don't leave me to die, essentially. And they found him not too far away at some point, and he was only like 70 pounds. He had been rotting, essentially. And there was this weird thing where he was supposed to be very fluent in like the wildlife in that area and the plants and the vegetation, whatever. He like knew what he was doing. Yet he ate something that was suspected to be poisonous. But in that area, there was a potato seed and then like some kind of berry that looked almost identical. And they thought, oh, he must have accidentally eaten the poisonous one.
Gotcha.
But then they look in his journal, in his diary, and he knew what the difference was.
Okay.
And he had a book with him written by a woman who also had a whole thing about how to spot the poisonous one, a whole thing. So everyone's like, why would he eat it, right? The author of the book, Into the Wild, who then wrote an article later about this whole thing, like 20 years later, said like they did extensive testing on the seed that supposedly poisoned him. Okay. And it was supposed to be harmless. And then they, over the years, did all of this research. And then eventually, like 20 years later, they thought it was like an alkaloid in the bean that killed people. But it wasn't. So they kept breaking down the different parts of this bean or this seed. And it turned out to be like an amino acid that eventually turned into poison later.
Gotcha.
So he was eating this thing that was dubbed as safe. So they thought, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So
he poisoned himself on accident and then wasn't able to find any food. There was no vegetation. There was no animals in the area, and he basically just starved to death. Yeah. So anyway, I messaged her being like, I know way too much about potato seeds now, and what the fuck does this have to do with the Yuba County Crime at all? And she goes, well, you know, she goes, the forest, mystery death. And I was like,
not sure what happened.
Yeah.
You're like, I did the research.
I know. We had a good little laugh about it.
For anybody in high school that needs to write a book report,
now
they can just listen to this episode.
So yeah, anyway, that was that. But
okay.
That was my
additional
quick version.
shout out. Okay.
Yeah. Also, shout out Bree. Thanks for commenting. Anyways,
thanks, Bree.
Yeah. Even if we had a weird thing.
Welcome
about
to the podcast.
Yeah. And then the next one is kind of a new listener. Apparently, she commented on the last one we just did, Maria Nemeth, the one that you just
episode
did,
40.
the fucked up one that we just talked about. And her username is Kel White NP. And I think it's Kelly White is her full name when I went to her profile. But she commented saying, I am in all caps love with your podcast, 20 exclamation points. I just found you and I'm binging all episodes while I'm stuck inside for the bad weather. Love y'all's banter.
Oh, yeah. So she must, I wonder if she lives in like the Midwest or like, I know Texas is going through like an ice storm right now.
See, I felt bad because I was like, oh, is that what everyone's talking about? Because I had no idea. Like I saw it places, but I was like,
yeah, we're pretty bad
hearing about bad weather. And then I'm like, oh, people are like legit, like their lives are changing right now. And then I felt bad. Yeah. So I'm sorry. So I'm sorry, but I told her, like, I'm sorry
I'm glad
about the bad weather, but thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad we could provide her some entertainment or company, I suppose, while she's trying to get through this. Hopefully nothing too terrible is happening for her and she's just stuck at home or something.
And then for this next but last shout out, this one is, I wouldn't say like more important or anything, but it is.
Wait, before you get to that, we had another comment from someone who also commented on Apple, or left a review on Apple Podcast.
Okay.
Adriana or something.
Okay.
Didn't she she left a comment, I think, on the last episode as well. Also something along the same lines of this is fucked up type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so shout out to her as well.
Shout out her.
She knows.
You can look it up while I'm looking
she
up whatever.
knows.
But yeah.
No, it's okay. I'm not even going to look it up. I just know that we discussed it. We were like, oh.
Yeah.
She liked it or didn't, but
Appreciate
also fucked up. So thank you.
Shout out. Shout out.
Anyways,
the last one. This case, I guess, that I'm covering today is, I don't know, it's multiple cases in one episode, I guess, which is a little bit different than what we've been doing. And I actually got this idea, I guess, from a user who goes by the username of MXDIX. Okay. And after we messaged a few times and she kind of gave me some ideas, she said her name is Maddie, but it's Madie. So I don't know if it's Maddie or Maddie. I'm used to Maddie being with two D's, but I don't know. So Maddie or Maddie. Thank you for this. But she had sent me a link maybe like a week or two ago, right when I was kind of thinking like, what episode am I going to do next? And so I was kind of looking up some cases, and it took me to a Dateline website, and I didn't realize that what I was looking at was already a podcast that I had been listening to. So Dateline has a little sub podcast that is one that they actually do themselves. So Dateline, obviously, right, is like they just cover a case that they go to. Exactly, yeah. And they just like convert it into audio or whatever, right? And so if you haven't already, Missing in America is the name of the podcast, and it's by Dateline. And I think they only have 4 or 5 episodes right now. I don't know why they only have that many, or if they're doing like mini seasons, but they just stopped after 4 or 5, and I really liked it. And they cover, I guess years ago, they put out this thing like, hey, if you know people who like have vanished, basically like write into us. And they created this huge website that has all of these missing people.
Like an entire database.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Missing people.
And the podcast itself is crazy. Like the episodes you should go and listen. There's one that I might cover at some point because it's just so weird and bizarre. But this website that this took me to, I got engulfed for like 2 or 3 straight days on my little like lunch break at work.
Yeah, you were texting me, everyone. You're like, this is fucking crazy.
And maybe it's just because it's all right in front of me versus like randomly hearing about it over a period of time. But it's just like, I think it's 169 people that they've just covered so far. But it's not even like coverage really. They have like a little paragraph. Each person has like a picture and then like a snippet. And like I've said to you a million times, these are the most normal people. Mm-hmm. There are random ones that are like maybe from the 80s, like out of the 100 and almost 70, there's maybe 3 or 4 that are like from the 80s or the 60s or whatever it is. But most of them are like in the last 10 years. Some are last year, some are 6 months ago. And it's like
weird.
Susie went to the mall and just never came home. Or Timmy walked his dog and the dog came home without him. Like, and it's just these normal people. And I don't know, it was just reading one after the other for like 2 hours straight for like 3 days straight.
Overwhelming a little bit.
It was, kind of overwhelming. And also like, holy shit, there's so many people that just disappear.
Right.
Anyway, so it kind of like took me back. I was like, you know what if I throw in an episode every now and then that covers some of these people? And
I mean, you said almost 170 people.
Yeah.
On this list.
Yeah. Some are kids, some are older people, some are indigenous women. Like there's so many, some people are transgender. I mean, the blanket is insane. And anyway, and some of them are like people that maybe you've seen on actual episodes, which is going to be one of them today.
Okay. All right.
So if you're okay with it, I would love to get started on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, last but not least, obviously, shout out Maddie. Yes. Because she brought you to these.
She did,
so, yeah. Let's just let's go ahead and get right into them.
Okay.
Then.
"70-year-old Michael Chambers was retired and loving it. He had been a firefighter in his working days, but even in retired life, you can find him keeping busy. Family members say he was a fixer, always trying to repair something. His daughter, Susie Chambers, said there was nothing he couldn't fix. But above all else, he was regarded as a family man. For everyone who knew and loved Michael, life changed on March 10th, 2017. Michael's wife had returned home from work that evening, only to find he wasn't there. The last time she had spoken with him was that same morning about 8 o'clock. Worried, she called police and a search began. When searching the Chambers property, police found Michael's workshop and spotted drops of blood. Whether this was old or new hasn't been released or is just unknown. In the workshop, police also found Michael's wallet and keys. Michael's last confirmed sighting came via CC footage from a local Walmart, where he was spotted purchasing some makeup for his wife that she had asked him to grab that day. He is seen entering, paying, and leaving. What happened after this remains a mystery. When checking his cell phone records for clues, they found it was last recorded to be on or near a 2-mile bridge over Lake Tawakoni. Strangely, the pace at which the signal was moving was said to be, quote, too fast for walking but too slow for a car, end quote. This stuck out because police had found a bike to be missing from the Chambers residence. For several months following his disappearance, public and private searches have taken place in multiple areas, hoping to find something, but sadly, nothing has turned up. In 2018, the sheriff at the time, Sheriff Meeks, shared his thoughts. Quote, I really feel like he jumped in there himself and committed suicide, end quote. Michael's family adamantly rejects this idea. His daughter Susie said, absolutely not. Not at one tiny bit of me would believe that that was the truth. With multiple searches by police leading nowhere, Susie eventually hired a private investigator, which drummed up some new info. Whatever the info is, though, has not been released. But whatever it was, sparked a new search that was conducted by 78 members of law enforcement, who scoured 420 acres of dense forest, open pastures, and creek beds.
Wow.
They also utilized canine units, a drone, searchers on horseback, and all-terrain vehicles. While this also led to nothing substantial, Michael's family expressed their gratitude for everyone's efforts. Fast forward to late last year, 2022, when a local man named Michael Ramsey was exploring an area of marsh. As he was trudging around, he noticed what looked like a mountain bike sticking out from some old rotted trees that had fallen. When he walked over to the bike, he also found what looked like bones next to it. He immediately called police, and right away, they were on the scene. They were confirmed to be human bones and have been sent off to the University of North Texas for identification. Everyone in this area thought immediately to Michael Chambers, who had vanished over 5 years prior. His cell phone had last pinged in that very area. The Hunts County Sheriff's Office says identifying these remains can be a lengthy process, but Michael's family is holding out hope, even if this proves to be not his remains. Susie said, "You hope for an outcome, you hope for answers, you hope for closure, but it's not going to be a happy fairy tale ending where I have my dad back." Anyone with information is asked to call the sheriff's office at 903-453-6838. So, for the one that I just talked about, I forgot to mention that it is Dallas, Texas. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew kind of where to visualize, maybe, kind of.
Yeah, that's...
Or if they know anybody in that area or anything like that. So I just wanted to make sure.
I was going to ask you if they ever found the bike, because obviously, if he's jumping off of a bridge into a river or something, the bike would be somewhere.
Right.
And interesting. So I wonder,
So this came up. I I was hanging out with my dad about a week or so ago, and we went to breakfast somewhere, and we ate in the bar because we both hate children that are like ruining breakfast in the morning, right? That's true. Mimosas, holler. Anyway, so we're in the bar, right? And it's getting like more towards lunchtime. We're like, okay, we need to go. We're going to go to a thing, whatever. And so he went to the bathroom, and it's not like the customers are dwindling. People are leaving now, whatever, right? And now it's like kind of empty in between breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
And so it's just me and him, and then like an older couple in the corner. And I look over, and I had just finished typing this the day before about Michael Chambers. And I did this like quadruple take, but I had to be subtle because it's just us in this fucking restaurant, right? I didn't want to be obvious. I'm like, what the fuck? This guy looked just like him. And I could not stop. It was bothering me so bad. So I pulled it up, and I'm like, maybe it's just me. And I told him, I'm like, Dad, I'm doing this episode right now. And I pulled up the picture. I'm like, subtly look over at the guy in the corner, and he's like,
so
okay.
Whipped his head around.
So he looked at it, right? And then he like kind of put the phone down, and he's like pretending, and he's like pretending to stretch and look in the corner, and he looks over. And then when I think he's going to be like, well, kind of or something, he doesn't say anything. And he probably did this 3 or 4 times where he looked back at the phone, looked back at the guy, looked at the phone, looked back to the guy. And I'm like, oh, so he thinks too. And it was so fucking spot on. It was so weird. There was not one thing that was even a little bit out of place about this guy.
It could.
No, I know.
Like.
I know, it's that weird.
But I guess the good thing is, though, that at least something's been found. And
right, but this is what he said. And I'm like, why didn't I fucking think of that? He goes, did they ask his wife if that's his bike? And I'm like, that's a good fucking question, actually.
Is the missing bike from
Is that the bike from your house? And that was nowhere. So, of course, the next day I'm at work or whatever it is, right? I'm like, I need to look up this bike thing. And I can't find it anywhere. Something else I also found was odd, and I can't remember if this was you or my dad I said this to, but the fact that the wife came home and he wasn't there, and she immediately went into panic mode versus like, there was nothing about she called around, she called her kids, she called his work or he was retired, I guess, or called his friends or whatever. She just showed up and he wasn't there. But also, if his car keys were there and his truck was there, I could see you being like, he must be somewhere, like something happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she saw the blood in the workshop and she was like, oh my God, or I don't know. But to just immediately be like, I got to call the cops.
But you're also talking about a 7-year-old possibly riding a bike.
But she didn't know that at the time, I don't think. I don't think she'd be like, where's the bike?
Yeah,
I don't know, right?
That's another question. Do we really think a 70-year-old was like, I'm out of here?
Yeah, I don't know. Super weird. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So there's that, I guess. But
well, hopefully we'll find something, or we'll hear an update here soon.
It's kind of weird to just have a drop off like that. But this is kind of where we hope to have some kind of conversation come in. And if anyone has theories, I would love to hear it. But until then, I guess we'll just move on to the next one.
Okay.
Detreck Foster grew up in Parsons, Kansas, but eventually settled in Independence, Kansas. The almost 40-year-old is a father to 2 daughters and has a twin sister named Danica, who is also very close to. He's a great brother, great son, and a great father. He's also very good about keeping in touch with people. His ex-wife, Jordan Foster, has nothing but great things to say about him. She said even though they weren't together anymore, when he would come over to pick up his daughters, while he was there, he would help her around the house with anything she needed, any chores, anything that needed to be fixed. Just an overall really good guy. It was April 2020, and the then 37-year-old Detreck had called Jordan to let her know that his phone would be turning off soon, and he would get back in touch with her as soon as he could. He had one of those prepaid phones, so he would run out of minutes, get money, and then put more on. So she was used to this at this point, that she would just hear from him like a day later when he had money to put on it. Yeah.
Like reload or preloaded
Exactly,
phones.
yeah. But days went by and she had not heard from him, which was very unusual. Even more days went by, and then eventually Mother's Day hit. And this was a holiday that Detreck never missed. He always made sure to call his mom, his sister, and his ex-wife to wish them a happy Mother's Day. So when the holiday came and went with no calls to anyone, they got worried. After they all spoke to each other, the women realized that nobody had heard or seen from Detreck since mid-April. May 12th, they called the police in Independence and filed a missing persons report. They next flew out and began distributing missing persons flyers all over the city. Shortly after, though, it was discovered that somebody had taken them down. Jordan tells Dateline, quote, "I believe someone in Independence knows something, but no one is speaking up. We just need that person to come forward with any information that could help us find Detreck," end quote. Danica speaks fondly of her brother, saying, "He's comical. He likes to make people laugh. Very caring, very much a listener. He explains himself very well, a very clear communicator, very passionate," end quote. He not only has a family who loves and misses him, but he has 2 daughters who miss him and have nothing but questions. Detreck Foster is 5'9" and weighed 190 pounds when he vanished. There's a $5,000 reward offered in this case. Anyone with anything is asked to call the KBI at 1-800-572-7463.
So while you were going over that, I just looked up, because I wanted to kind of know how big Independence, Kansas was.
Okay.
Which I didn't search that, though. I just searched his name real quick.
Okay.
And the first thing that pops up is a local news article from Independence saying that, in fact, right here, KBI, Detreck Foster, missing 2 years, suspect foul play. Which, yeah, I mean, if there's people the reason to take down a missing persons poster, and like multiple posters, unless you're involved, or I just don't see it. If you think it's an eyesore, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, and with that many people knowing his routine and knowing his character and not hearing from him, and he has 2 kids that he's very heavily involved with, and you don't hear from him, and then there's no cell phone activity, no bank card. I mean, police go through all of this stuff. Has used his cards recently.
So there's only 8,400 people in Independence. Very small.
Yep.
So yeah, for someone to go missing and nobody be like, oh yeah, I saw this or I saw that. Yeah, that's weird. Especially for somebody that the reason people notice he's missing is because he's not doing something. It's out of character for him to not be doing something that's caring for other people.
Very involved in the females in his life. He was super close to.
Sounds like it.
So this wasn't he missed a birthday or he missed a call on Easter or some shit.
Right,
Mother's Day was a thing.
This weekend or something.
Specifically, Mother's Day was huge to him.
Weird.
Yeah.
And that's 2 years ago. That's 2020.
Yeah, right.
That's wild.
Yep.
And to think even in Kansas.
Right. I mean, we're coming up on 3 years, but yeah.
True.
Right.
Yeah, true. I forget.
Yeah.
That's, you'd think there'd be cameras or something,
Something, yeah. I know.
Eerie.
It also makes you think too, I don't know what the situation was between him and Jordan, his ex-wife.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the girls primarily lived with her. So you almost think with a guy, I don't know, my dad has stories from sharing custody or whatever. And my mom had me most of the time. But in between that, he was definitely living his life, he had friends and would go out. Exactly. Yeah. And when you're not a full-time parent like that, you can kind of go do it. Yeah. Or not get yourself in trouble. But when you have free time like that, it's almost and who knows, you could have had 5 jobs. I don't fucking know. But I think when you don't have a spouse at home and you don't have kids at home, exactly, you can be away and there's more chances of you knowing people that your spouse doesn't know and things like that. You're not involved, so you don't have to answer anyone. So he could know 100 bad people, or he could be in drug debt to 5 people, and his wife wouldn't have to know because they're not together.
No,
it's not her business.
And so that's where.
And I wouldn't be sharing that stuff with my sister or my mom. If he knows some shady characters, or if he has a drug habit, or and I don't want to come off like I'm speaking bad or anything like that. But it
just goes to show the people that
conspiracy.
There is that open possibility that he was involved with nefarious people, and of course they're not gonna speak out and be like, actually, I used to see him.
Or it could easily be that he maybe was going to the store to put more minutes on his phone, on his prepaid phone, and someone hit him with a car and then had to hide the body because they were drunk, or like it. I know that sounds crazy, but it could be that, could be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. This last one, Alicia Navarro, is a name that you people might recognize. This is a case that has been done a few times by now. I thought it was important to cover something with a child because I feel like something like this can never get too much coverage.
Right.
And the fact that people have been pouring in tips over the years, but nothing has led anywhere, that it doesn't hurt to cover it again.
Going. Yeah.
So if anyone's already heard this, bear with me, or goodbye, see you next episode kind of thing. But for anyone who doesn't know, this September 2023 will mark the 4-year anniversary that Alicia Navarro went missing from her Arizona home. She will be 19. It was early one morning when Alicia's mom, Jessica Nunez, was getting her other children ready for school when she noticed the back door was open. To her knowledge, nobody had gone outside yet. She was the first one up. She peeked outside and saw 2 lawn chairs pushed up against their brick wall fence. Having kids can be hectic and things get moved around and things end up in weird places, but this was really weird and alarming. Her mind worked fast. She realized she hadn't laid eyes on Alicia yet. Of course, Jessica immediately called the police. The alarm went out for a missing 15-year-old, and everyone started searching. Searching her room for any clues, they found her laptop and phone missing, but the chargers left behind, indicating she really did intend on coming home at one point. When asked about a theory, Jessica Nunez is positive her daughter was groomed by someone online. Alicia was high-functioning on the autistic scale and spent a lot of time playing online games and in various chat rooms along with being active on social media. She was most comfortable on her computer. Real-life social situations gave her a lot of anxiety. This theory of an online threat was spurred by a couple incidences that happened not too long before she vanished. Alicia was once caught giving her personal information to someone online and was given a very stern warning and talking to about the dangers of online strangers. The next incident was Jessica catching Alicia speaking with someone online about mature content. Too mature for a child her age.
Yeah.
Jessica even filed a complaint with the police, but if this went anywhere, it's not mentioned anywhere I can find. What's stated in some sources is that in the few months leading up to her disappearance, there were some noticeable changes going on with Alicia. She started taking an interest in makeup, using body spray, more mature clothing, edgier music. This could have been innocent teenage interests, but the timing of this is what makes people curious. In 2021, Jessica said, "I think she was just lured to maybe she was in love, maybe some kind of adventure, maybe she was promised something." If police found evidence of a potential perpetrator online, they haven't released any specific information. Trent Steele is the president of the Anti-Predator Project and has been working on Alicia's case since 2020. This nonprofit program helps families with cases centered around missing people and human trafficking. He assures the public this is not a cold case. He said, "It's a combination of people that we've spoken with, who we've interviewed along with activities, which leads us to believe she left the house that night voluntarily to meet someone she thought she knew." Over the past almost 4 years, tips have come in from coast to coast, and Trent's company follows up on every single one. He said his team dedicates almost 50 hours a week to Alicia and follows up on tips that are still coming in regularly. With no clues or leads, the outcome could be one of many things. It's possible she did fall victim to sex trafficking. She could have also unfortunately been killed and the remains not discovered yet. She could also be being kept somewhere with someone. Whatever it is, Alicia's family just wants answers. Jessica Nunez wants her story to be a lesson and a warning to other parents. Keep an eye on your kids. Check their social media. see who they're talking to online. We've all seen To Catch a Predator. We know how easy it is for these creeps to find a victim and sneak their way into a child's life. Jessica said, "If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone." Alicia was last seen wearing a white sweatshirt, a whitewashed denim overall skirt, and black and white Vans sneakers. There's a $20,000 reward for information leading to her. You're asked to call 623-930-3000 with anything.
Yeah, that one rings a bell.
Mm-hmm. I know Crime Junkie did it.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I do know, I want to say back in the day, Crime Watch Daily, which is now True Crime Daily.
Oh, I think,
they
yeah,
covered
for sure.
it as well with Chris Hansen, who
Yep.
To Catch a Predator. This one, this is one of those ones where you really just, I mean, all of these, I think you really want answers to. I think because of the age and the possibility of things like sex trafficking, which we know is a huge issue all over the world, which somehow I'm of, I don't want to be like conspiracy theorist, but there's got to be people, I don't want to say in power, but people that have power, not necessarily government power, but just like lots of money that know all about what's going on.
Oh, yeah. There's people that even don't have power that know. They're the people that are doing this, that are stalking the people. Yeah,
that are getting paid to do this. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things where it's like sex trafficking is not a conspiracy. It exists. Yeah. And it's a very real possibility that this could be what happened. Right. Or, like you said, it kind of rang a bell with, I'm losing the name, Skylar Neese, where somebody that she trusted somebody who then took advantage of her trust because she was the one with her friends who took advantage of her.
Right. Okay, yeah.
The idea that...
I was thinking of the Nicole Lovell one because that was a guy online that lured her out. And then,
yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Same thing. Where
if you want to listen to that one.
That's the thing. There's so many directions that this could have gone. Yeah. Where it really is, we just want an answer.
Yeah. And like you're saying, it could be a big scale thing. It could be, she could be one of thousands of girls that are getting lured or whatever it is. Or this could be just some one fucking freak online that got lucky.
Was obsessed with her, yeah.
And I found a website of, I don't know if it has to be a private journalist or something, but this person, I should have gotten the name, went to Jessica Nunez's house and basically did like a full-on private interview thing where they went to Alicia's room and it shows the mom, like all these photos are not photos you just find anywhere. Like these are like, she took like with her own like phone camera of the mom like holding like Alicia's favorite shirt and showing her like pointing to, there was a cutout, I guess, on Alicia's screen window where I guess her mom had noticed it weeks before she went missing. It had been like, why is your screen cut? And it was like kind of a weird spot because she goes, oh, the cat did or something. Yeah, but then her really stepdad was like, it's cut from the inside or whatever, right? But then they show pictures of the whole home and they have like arrows pointing. Like, this is where she would have gone out. This is, like that kind of thing. This would have been where she climbed over the fence, whatever. And there's a couple websites that say that she waited till her stepdad fell asleep on the couch and then walked out the front door. But then there's pictures of like, this is where Jessica crawled over the fence. And her mom was even stated in this private article saying like, this fence would have made noise if she crawled over it. So it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, and that's a tough thing too, because in situations like this, you would like to think...
that everything would be like consistent and stuff.
Yeah, especially as a parent, right? Though, you would think, no, I would have heard something. We set up obstacles, or you have things in your head. You're like, no, if this happens, this is what's gonna remind me.
And they said that she went over this. Like, if you're looking at the house from the street point of view, Alicia's window is on the left side, but not facing the street. It's on like that flat side, if that makes sense. You go around the corner, right? And then it shows the neighbor's house on the right. And it was like this picture had a arrow pointing to this neighbor's house and was like, this neighbor had like a Ring doorbell. So they think Alicia went out that side because she knew that. But then Alicia's room's on the second story. So how did she get out of the second story window? It's really tall.
Yeah.
It's almost like the attic, basically. This little 14-year-old is not jumping 2.5 stories down or whatever it is. So anyway, there's a lot of like weird little details that aren't quite consistent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of to finish off what I was saying, where you hope, you think you have everything under control, kind of, but then you don't really know the reality of it.
And also, you've had these talks before. You've caught her doing things, and she's a kid. I'm not, coming at her or anything, but you've caught her doing stuff. Think that as the mom or the dad that you've had these talks, you've warned her like, hey, don't do this. Yeah. And you think it does something, but she's still a kid. And especially kids these days, they're so much better with technology. I don't know how to do anything. So yeah.
And that's it. There is another case out there. Maybe I'll try to look it up and figure out, because it is a case of a young teenage girl that went missing.
Yeah.
And I believe they did find out what happened to her. I don't want to give it away.
Okay.
But she was being influenced by multiple people. Mm-hmm. And so you think as a parent, you're having your influence, but there's other people that are also influencing her, maybe more than you.
And of course, they're teenagers, right? So like their friends and stuff are like smarter than their parents or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just, I think with all of these cases, a lot of questions, a lot of, you hold out hope for the best, whether it's answers or who knows, people can still be found. I mean, it's
true.
Like you mentioned, could be held captive. Who knows? I mean, you just kind of hope for the best, whether it's answers or the actual discovery of people.
Yeah.
So,
but you know what? I would love to know if people think that they like this kind of stuff. If they want to, I know it sounds weird, but if they want to hear these cases. And I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't really care because I enjoyed it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But I mean, if people like hearing about, and you know what? Maybe I'll put a link to the website that I was on for this. And if you guys are interested in stuff like this, I don't know if it's going to be heavy for you guys like it was for me, but maybe it's because I was reading it for hours on end of just person after person after person, people with kids. And it's one thing to listen to an hour episode on your way to work and then work all day and talk to customers and do whatever you guys fucking do all day, right? Or go to the gym or whatever. But when you're person after person and if you just imagine yourself as an everyday person, right? And to think that you could possibly end up as a 3-sentence mark on a website is just so crazy to me.
Yeah, even, we have certain days where we'll text more throughout the day.
Yeah.
Other times, and we're both very busy at work, and so we don't text a ton.
Yeah.
And some days, today was actually one of those days where, I haven't heard from you in a few hours.
Yeah.
And usually it's when I get back to my phone, you've said something.
Yeah.
And it's that could have been it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how quickly it could happen. And I think, you just have nothing.
Yeah. I know. I think about that too, because sometimes me and my sister, especially my brother, we're all kind of spread out. We have different lifestyles. My brother's significantly younger than me. And so he's in a way different stage of life. He's out partying and it's normal to not hear from them for days.
Yeah.
Same with my mom, maybe weeks sometimes. Me and my dad are different. We're ultimate homies, but but everyone else, it's normal to not hear from them. And then I think, how would I fucking know when they went missing?
You're right, yeah.
I don't know. If the police were when did you last hear from? I don't know.
It's funny you
a
say
month
that, because
ago?
my mom, who is very much into true crime, and the ID channel is all she watches.
Snapped.
Yeah. And she's even mentioned it to me, and maybe I haven't. Yeah, shout out Lori.
Shout out Lori.
One
and
Lori.
if you're listening, we know that you are. Yeah.
There is, I don't, she's actually said it. I don't know if you're fucking missing, because I'm terrible.
She would say it just like that.
I'm terrible at
I don't know if you're
responding
fucking
to
missing.
texts or keeping in touch, and I feel bad. often, but then I don't do anything to change
That's
it. So
you,
it's
though.
like
That's
I'm a
just
piece
you.
of shit.
No, it's just you.
Yeah.
You're a little
But-
aloof.
Right. But yeah, she's like, how am I? Who knows? You could be fucking missing something.
Right.
And it's like, I guess
Yeah.
you're right. Like you wouldn't know, and then
Right.
except for maybe you,
Yeah.
literally nobody else would be like,
Right.
oh yeah, he went missing this day.
Yeah.
Except for maybe obviously like
Yeah.
the guys at work.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
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 That's the eerie thing about these stories, and that's why I do want to do more of these with you, whether it's you or me.
Yeah.
Like,
But also too, if you, I do plan on kind of, maybe I'll even put like a fourth one in there next time, and we'll like cut down some more banter, like to kind of make room for another extra person in here. But I would love to eventually cover all of them. If you guys are listening and you know of another missing person, or even if it's like a personal one that you want us to cover, if you know a friend or something,
that's the
I'll
beauty.
kind of do any of the missing people. I'm just going off of Dateline because that's my only like source right now.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the ability of us doing these types of episodes on occasion.
And I would
it's
love
like
to
we can
cover
cover
more
anything that you guys want us to just get out there. Because from the beginning, that was the idea of we're fans of true crime, and we talk about true crime personally all the time between the two of us.
Yeah.
But being able to bring to light some cases that just don't see the day of light, like the Oakley Carlson case locally, which was like the second case you ever covered when you joined the podcast. Like, that feels good for us because
which there's actually an update on that one. It's nothing too crazy, but I'll do it on the next one.
Okay.
But there is some small movement, I guess, on that one. Yeah.
The
But
parents
anyway,
were pieces of shit.
Yeah,
anyways,
I would love to cover more children's ones too. So if you guys know of any other ones, that'd be
exactly
great to cover those too. But yeah.
Well,
anyway,
thank you.
A little bit different this time, but hope you guys
I enjoyed it. I don't give a
mark?
fuck.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Okay. Great.
Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that's it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Once again, let us know what you guys think about the dishwasher
Yeah.
procedures,
Oh my
and
God.
how do you arrange your cutlery, and do you pre-wash the dishes before putting them into the dishwasher? Do you even use the dishwasher? Growing up,
Yeah.
my mom used to like hand wash the dishes and
Yeah.
then use a dishwasher as like a drying rack, pretty much.
Okay, I've heard of
So,
that too. Actually, yeah, I've heard of that too.
But I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's been another episode of the True Crime Banter podcast, and we'll talk to you guys
Next time.
there it is.
Bye.
Adios.